Puddles in the morning, puddles in the evening, puddles in the afternoon. Well, I'm a puddle boy and she's a puddle girl. The Puddles podcast is starting real soon.
Welcome to Puddles. It's your host, Andrew Collin. I'm joined by hilarious comedian
Thank you.
Claire Parker from Celebrity Memoir Book Club.
Yeah, and let me ask you this. What kind of international audience do you have?
Why? Do you have a strong international audience?
No, and that's why I'm pandering to them directly. I'm going to be in Edinburgh this August, and I'm too scared to check my ticket sale count because I actually do have a pretty big audience in England and like Ireland and Scotland. But it just occurred to me yesterday that there's a chance I show up for my very first show and like nobody's bought tickets to that show because there's so many shows you could go to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I feel you. I think, and it's a month long. And how many shows do you have to do?
Luckily, I'm only going for 2 weeks, which at first was a mistake. Like, was like something I was bummed about, but it's such a scam. I'm like, I actually can't afford to go for a full month. It would be crazy to go for a full month. Like, I'm lucky that they were like, we'll give you 12 shows, but 12 shows. And I'm in a room that sits 110. I had asked for a closet. I saw Baby Reindeer. I was like, give me the closet situation. They're like, there's no closets left. There's only large rooms.
Oh, man.
And I was like,
I think you just have to, I don't know. I feel like with those things, your expectations just have to be so insanely small. And hopefully it grows by
and can I tell you, my expectations are so low. I'm like,
okay.
I would feel happy if I had 4 audience members per show.
But good for you for going, you know, it's not easy.
But my fear is like, I'm like, what if it's lower? You know what I mean? I guess it had never even occurred to me that I could do an entire show to 0 people.
I mean, so to the audience and the people that would be in Scotland during that time, Edinburgh is a thing where you go if you're a comedian and you want to either do a one-man show or work on your special, and you can do upwards of like, it's like a camp for comedy.
I'm looking at it as like a boot camp. Like I'm just going to go and work on the same thing every single day. I'm doing an hour every day for 12 days straight.
And it's very tough because you are doing the same exact material for a full hour. Should we just start again?
From the whole beginning?
I don't know.
You don't edit that part out at all?
No, we can.
You could edit that part out. I think it was pretty clean. I'm always shocked. Do you edit your podcast at all?
My wife is doing it now.
That's very sweet of her. I guess in for a penny and for a pound. I once did somebody's podcast, and I won't name names, but he is often on Twitter complaining about how unfair it is that he hasn't succeeded in comedy. And then one time I did his podcast, which was like at Saturday night late, and I was down at my parents' house on the beach, and I had like left dinner so that I could make this podcast on time, and I had brought my equipment so that the sound would be good, and I was in my room and I was recording, and in the middle of the podcast his DoorDash arrived, so he left the pod to go get his DoorDash, and then he was eating dinner for the rest of the podcast. And I remember being like, are you gonna edit this? And he was like, nah. And it was like the part where you leave, and now every day I see him complaining about his lack of success, and I'm like, well, I have an idea. Have you tried
Not eating while recording?
Being on mic the whole time.
I mean, it's insane. It's insane. Some comedians, people don't understand how insane comedians are, and then to then complain is the most unaware thing, and to be a great comedian, you have to be the most aware. Mm-hmm. So what was he eating? Ribs?
I couldn't see. It was in a black like one of those to-go containers. It wasn't ribs, but it was like, you know, a meal with sides. I want to say maybe a sandwich or something.
What goes through your mind where that's like appropriate, where you just don't? Part of me, I'm jealous of that a little bit.
Because he is a failure, so there's no jealousy. But you know who you should be jealous of? I did somebody's hyper successful podcast one time. Yeah. And there was 2 co-hosts, and again, I won't name names, but it was very clear that one of the co-hosts did all the work and had all the did all the research and did all of the prep and was the person with the clout, and then the other person was supposed to be like maybe the comedic relief, and they were eating the whole time too. And I will say that podcast did not last much longer. And I remember talking to the other girl about it, and she was like shocked things had gone south. And I was like, I had one.
Was she the eater?
The eater is
always the shocked one.
Yeah. She was like, I can't believe she thought that it was like unfair workload. And I was like, you wouldn't skip lunch. You were making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you couldn't find another time to eat lunch.
Yeah. I mean, either she's eating all day She's having like 30 small meals, so she
Maybe
can't skip it.
That's like her eating. She has some weird eating disorder where she like can only eat when people are watching. So unfortunately, if she was having kind of a solo day,
She
was
needs an
like,
audience.
yeah, only on Zoom.
She only eats here in like Chelsea Piers or whatever. Or not Chelsea Piers, Chelsea Market. She needs like 50 people watching her just chew on a salad.
Yeah, because she just wants to make sure she like it helps her stay intentional and aware.
I mean, look, it's a good diet to need an audience of 50 or 1,000 or whatever the fuck it is. Yeah, it's crazy. Like someone chewing on ice. Like even like when I'm in conversation and someone's, you can see like they're, I don't know. I chew my nails though. So that's kind of annoying.
Yeah, there's habits. It's always funny with comedians. I feel like, and I'm one of them. I like dread watching video of myself on stage, but sometimes I'll watch comedians, especially younger ones. And I'm like, if you could just take one look at what you're doing up there, I think you would find out that you have a really weird tick. A completely preventable like hand thing that you do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's so many things that people just don't. And it's hard because you have to hear yourself and watch yourself to address it, but it's addressable. You just have to face the humiliation.
Part of me wanted to do a show where, because I've eaten with so many comedians, where every comedian has like insane habits, how they eat, how fast they eat, the manner in which they eat. It's just like very like, I think maybe because we all have ADD or whatever, and we just have so much anxiety to taking out in food. But my dad was like that. I don't know. Was your dad a loud chewer?
No.
No.
But I know what my thing is.
What's your thing?
I like eat. I eat like I was raised in the Depression. Like if I don't I eat so fast, but I'm starving, and I have a husband who. I'm always finishing my plate and then starting to eat his because I'm like, well, you didn't like it. It's still there. And he's very much like, no, I like it so much. I'm taking my time. And I'm like I'm a big, like, if you love it, you gulp. And he's like, no, if you love it, you savor.
Well, do you feel like, is your family, your parents are together?
Were we dirt poor? No.
No.
I don't know why.
Not so much about the dirt poor, but like,
no,
did you have dinners together that were like long dinner, like did you have a family dinner?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know where it really me and my brother, we would sometimes though we'd have a pizza to split, right? Like if we had a babysitter.
Yeah.
And we had a real thing of like however much pizza you get when it's gone is how much pizza you get. And so we would just like be chowing down, leaving crust, like eating like it was a hot dog competition.
Yes.
Just to have made sure we got more. Like, and I feel like sometimes I'm just so hungry. I'm so out of tune with my body. Like when I'm hungry, it turns out I'm starving. And if I don't eat right now, I'll die.
Oh man, that is a lot of pressure on every fucking meal. Like that's going on in that head of yours almost every time. Like you're wondering if this might be my last supper. Like it's not
even like in that. It's just, I feel like it is an ADD thing. And I think it's the pressure of living in New York City where every meal can be the best meal. And you kind of get in this mentality of being like, well, what do I want? What exactly do I want? And what's the best version of that thing in walking distance? And I am like, I don't know, there'll be breakfast again tomorrow.
How's your husband with that?
My husband is like the most mentally healthy person in the world.
Yeah.
He does come from a very almond family.
Almond?
Yeah, like, like almond mom.
Okay.
He comes from a real almond family.
I never heard of that.
You've never heard of an almond mom?
No.
An almond mom is the kind of mom who's like, what do you mean you're hungry for dinner? We just had a clementine.
Oh, okay.
Or like, you know what I mean? Very like, have you tried just a couple of almonds if you're hungry? That's where I think it originally comes from. Or there's no, like, have you ever heard of Ingredients Household?
No.
They kind of has, like, they would never just have Frosted Flakes and cereal. They have like almond flour and like loose granola.
Gotcha.
And raisins. Oh, you're hungry? Have you tried batching your own granola?
So eating is more for like energy than like indulgence.
Yeah.
And you're more like, oh, I want
exactly what I want all the time.
Yes. I have trouble, my wife, she'll go and she'll look at a menu and then she'll even ask, what's good here? And to me, I know exactly what I want within seconds. And I'd rather pick something quick, and maybe I'm wrong, but it's done.
Yeah.
And I never get food where I'm like, I wish I got that. I'm just always so happy to just get that. And it's been like, I don't know, we get in like, it definitely causes tension.
That's such a funny thing because what could the tension be?
Well, the tension is on me. I'm annoying.
Like she wants you to participate in the journey of the meal picking.
I don't like the journey.
And you don't like, so the problem is that you want her to be decisive.
Yes.
Okay, well you have to stand down, sir.
I stand down?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Of course. I don't stand up. You think I go... Hurry the fuck up.
Stand down from an emotional argument. Yeah, stand down, sir.
I stand down plenty.
I'm on my knees over here. I haven't been on my feet in years. Not since the old ball and chain. Look at you. I haven't seen you since you got married. Congratulations.
I know. It's just real ring and everything. I know. I got married in October.
Very nice. I remember watching that tsunami or whatever, that typhoon hit and being like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I don't know if that was an omen. No, an omen? Whatever.
An almond.
An almond family.
That was an almond mom.
It was an almond mom.
An almond mom hit Florida and almost canceled the wedding.
I mean, yeah, they say, you know, when it rains, it's a good thing for your wedding. I don't know 100-mile-per-hour winds and a tornado that rips apart your venue. if that's a good omen.
No, that's good. You guys can survive anything.
Yeah, it's like really good.
You guys are strong like an old tree.
Dude, my buddy Rusty, it was going to be in his parents' backyard. They had a houseboat. It got flown. The houseboat flew like almost like a half a mile, landed in another street.
What do you mean, like it floated or it was in the air? It was airborne.
Airborne in a tornado. We were supposed to ride away on that. That was supposed to be like our just married thing.
Listen, can I say, you guys almost won because I feel weddings are so competitive and so for Instagram that there's almost like a sigh of relief that you get to be like, we had this really beautiful wedding planned.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean? Like you get to be like, oh, that wedding, that's a tacky wedding. My wedding would have been beautiful, but you know, the houseboat.
The houseboat, yeah, the houseboat. Also, you get the sympathy of like, oh, the houseboat.
And then like anything ugly down the line where you look back and go, what were we thinking? You go, we were thinking, how lucky are we to be alive?
Yeah.
Nobody died by houseboat fly.
But also, if you could, you know, give us more money for our wedding gifts, especially if you don't come now because of a hurricane.
Yeah.
Yeah, the houseboat landed in Rusty Jr.'s street, and
But coincidentally, I can't imagine.
He walked out of
his. That's my houseboat.
He walked out. He goes, "Those things look familiar." He's a half a mile away, and he goes, "Wait, that's my that's my parents' houseboat, or his younger brother's." Crazy.
That feels like some real Wizard of Oz shit. Like,
it
sure,
really is.
There's not another person in town.
Yeah, my bride is underneath with just her feet sticking out from under it. How was your wedding? You got married here in Brooklyn.
Yeah, it was great. We also had tough weather. It was like the hottest day of the year, and then it was one of those things where there was like 15 minutes of the day where I couldn't have it rain, and those were like the exact 15 minutes it rained. And it didn't, you know, when it's so humid and muggy and horrible, and then you're like, well, the rain's going to clear this away. And then somehow you're like, the rain has made it worse.
Yes.
Now it's just wetter. It's like the molecules have combined to make a wetter, muggier day. But
so when you were going to walk outside, it started raining?
Well, yeah, and it started drizzling. And then
what did you do? Did you umbrella it, or did you just do it in the rain? Because that's kind of romantic,
we waited
right?
it out 15 minutes, and then it was it wasn't that bad. And the real problem is they're like, well, once it rains, how are we supposed to wipe down all the chairs? And I just went clear the chairs. I said, if I can stand, they can stand. Wow. And I made everybody stand.
Clear the chairs. That's such a strong, clear the chairs.
Well, but it did come out cute because I got married in the backyard of a restaurant. So there was these like big umbrellas. And in the photos, it feels very like community. You know what I mean? Everybody's kind of like around. I don't know. I feel like it looked cute. And I was just kind of like, we didn't have some long Catholic Greek ceremony. It was 15 minutes. I was like, the people can stand.
Yeah. No, I mean,
give my grandma a seat if she needs a seat, and everyone else is strong.
She could stand too. Let's be honest.
I think she did. I mean, people were they're like, but where will the people sit? And I was like, I guess they won't.
Now, did you claim it as a standing ovation, or did you tell people that there was no chairs?
I had a real no comedy at the wedding. I said, this is not your fucking chance to show off. I couldn't get a priest because I'm not Catholic, but I picked a man we knew who's very Catholic because I was like, he's going to take this shit serious. I didn't want one of those weddings where everyone was hooting and hollering and everything was a big fucking joke. I'm like, we're committing ourselves to life. And if you want to be funny, you can do what I did, and that's forego healthcare, retirement, nice lifestyle. You can hang out with homeless people in Queens and do the open mic circuit until you make a small little pathetic name for yourself like I did. But this is not your time for attention.
Yes, I feel like comedians, we get so much attention everywhere else that with our wedding, we're a little different in the sense of like, oh, this isn't, it's a big deal, but we don't need all the extra jazz. It's really just about the love, which we don't get everywhere.
And I felt like I didn't want it to be one of those things like, oh, Claire's a comedian. Everyone be razzy and they're no razzing.
Oh, the worst is when there's pressure on you to, did you have speeches or no?
Yeah.
How were they?
They were really sweet.
Could they be funny?
Yeah, I mean, you could be funny, but I don't. You know how like it was a love-filled day. This was
Yes.
not your time to bring the house down with your noticings.
Yeah.
This was not your flew in. Food was shit.
What was the food?
Oh my God, the food was actually fantastic.
Oh.
Because I got married at a restaurant. So
Gotcha.
my whole thing was like, they already have good food here. We're not reinventing the wheel.
We had a taco bar.
That's really nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Was it like a truck?
No truck.
Who
Just-
brought the food?
We had an outside, like
Like a taco person or just like a...
yeah, just a restaurant, like whatever catering. But it was like, well, we were gonna do. We had like this whole thing to do like tilapia or whatever, and it's like we tried it. We did the taste test, and it always tastes like dog shit.
Can I
I've
say
never had,
there's
like-
no way for people to show up somewhere random and be able to create 100 good meals at once.
Yeah.
And I feel like things like taco bars. I went to a wedding once where they just had dinosaur BBQ. Like they just showed. I'm like, find people that already have made a living at doing a lot of good food at once. And so my food was like Italian family style. It was at this place called Frankie's Spontino in Carroll Gardens, and like.
Yeah, no, Italian makes sense.
Yeah, because you can do massive quantities of Italian. Like they were just like passing around big bowls of pasta and shit. But like when you go and they're trying to do something, they're like, no, it's salmon, and you're like, there's no way to cook 100 salmons at once. That's good.
15 salmons are gonna be terrible.
And then those weddings always have the most elaborate appetizer bar. And so by the time you sit down, like the meal's a joke because you're like, well, I just had 700 cups of mashed potato your way.
I love little things.
Means like a meatball.
Oh my God, I'll stand by the kitchen door while they take out the appetizer, so we hit them first.
Oh, me too.
Like we would just stay, that was the whole wedding. Which
And
is great. Oh.
you know when like they get to know you because like they hate walking around when nobody will take, and so then they go, you're my buddy. You'll have.
Another slider, sir?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll do, you know what? And then you're always like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll do.
So just so you can take the plate back.
Another slider, sir? And they're counting. And it's like 8 sliders in. You're like,
but it's a very symbiotic relationship because they don't want to be walking around with the last slider. They want to get back, get a new plate.
I'll take the cold slider.
They want to chat with the chef.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I guess sliders on any little sandwich. I don't know what it is about little. There's not enough restaurants that offer that, which is maybe that's why we like it so much.
It's tapas, it's dim sum.
But they're even smaller than tapas. Oh, well, yes, it is. No. It's dim sum. It's dumplings.
I will say, like, that is the best way. That's, I feel, a very girl way to eat. I feel like girls want to have, like, one little bite of everything, please. And then boys are like, give me a giant one thing.
Yeah. I was never a giant one thing guy.
That's why you get along with women so much. You understand. Don't we all just want a bite of everything?
Honestly. But make it quick though. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. No, I try to. In relationship, it's so. I'm 45 fucking now, which
Congrats.
I went my whole life with just literally on my own schedule, and like whenever I have to change it up, it just drives me. I have to be better, and I have been.
What are you talking about right now?
I don't even know.
Schedule.
Just like I'm thinking about.
Where'd this come from?
The
we were just talking about
stuff.
sliders.
Yeah. Yeah, like the schedule of sliders, like when they come out.
What are you doing? I'm happy to go here with you, but I just need to know what's happened.
Okay, I don't even know.
How's being married? Well, you like it? Or?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
I was talking more about the restaurant, picking on the menu, and now I'm thinking about my life in general. Of like, dude, I would have dishes to the ceiling, and it'd be okay. I wouldn't notice it. I would have a bed that I would just flip over instead of changing the sheets. But these are all good things that they're in my life. I'm just not used to being questioned or like feeling like
considerate.
And all I'm doing is thinking about
because it used to be like
being
what
called
bothers
out
you
the whole day.
Oh,
yeah, but she doesn't do it in a mean way.
No.
It's just I can't just be like chill about it.
I guess you guys have been living together for quite some time now, huh?
Yeah,
you haven't. It hasn't become second nature. I have that problem.
Yeah,
with marriage.
What's your issue with that?
Well, when I met my husband, we were both like kind of messy, gross people in their 20s.
Both of you.
We were both pretty like.
Yeah.
We'll get to it when we get to it, people. And I think when you're young in your 20s, especially in New York, like you're not really cooking at home. So you know what I mean? There's very rarely a dish. I used to get so mad at him when I first started dating him because his whole thing was he had one bowl, one spoon. That was it.
One spoon.
Like, yeah, he had one.
Was it a spork or?
No, it was like a spoon. And basically his thing was like, well, that way you can never have more than one dish dirty at a time.
Like first in, first out. Like,
well,
that's
he was gonna
very,
like
present.
If you want another bowl of cereal, you're gonna have to wash the old bowl of cereal, and that way. And I was always irate. But what's happened now since we've gotten married, and we bought a place together, he really has grown up, and I'm appreciative. He's very neat, and he doesn't want dishes in the sink at the end of the night, and he loves to vacuum, and he takes a lot of great care of the home. but I definitely, I can tell he's like, oh, you know, I leave one thing out once. And he's like, hey, it's fine. But he's very kind. But he's always like, maybe. And I'm like, I know. I didn't forget. I just ignored. But I am kind of like, you need to give me a minute because I feel it changed quick. I'm like, you grew up overnight. I didn't know I was marrying somebody who hated crumbs.
That's tough. Like, how does it switch so quickly? And also, it's like, do you remind him that he's the bowl, one spoon guy? And he goes, well, I'm not that guy anymore.
Yeah, sometimes. And I feel he is so, like, patient that there's not a lot to get mad at. And he's not wrong. But I also am, like, I do feel sometimes, like, he'll be like, hey, Claire, like, you know, it would be great if you could try to put stuff away when you're done. I'm like, I know that it would be great if I could try to put stuff. I've never once thought people prefer when I leave every piece of the sandwich out for later. The funny thing is sometimes he'll say to me and I'll go, I thought I did put everything away. I looked at this kitchen. I said, that's pretty good. And I didn't see what you know what I mean? Or like if I leave, like we're big cereal and milk people. Like at the end of the night, we both always have like a bowl of cereal. And sometimes I get the bowl, I take the cereal out. And he's always like, could you put the milk? And I'm like, the milk's not going to go bad in 10 minutes. And also, what if I want another bowl of cereal? You want me to take the milk back out and then put it away again? I'm just calling it.
Well, it's those little things, though. It's like, why are you micromanaging me? Obviously, the milk's going to be fine. Why are we calling out the milk? Maybe you should hold back on calling out the milk.
Yeah, I'll put it away eventually.
Yeah, I'll put it away.
I'll put it away tomorrow. We have the AC on. This whole house is a refrigerator. It's not that deep. I don't even believe in
milk going bad ever.
I think a lot of those things are fake. Yeah. And so I feel like I'm actually quite good about being like.
But the role reversal, I think, is a huge thing in a relationship. Once it's established that I'm the dirty one, you're the clean one. And then if the dirty one now becomes the clean one is going to lose their fucking mind because that was their whole identity. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think like, if I ended up starting to be anal about cleaning, she would lose her mind.
Can I say, I think that's the hardest part about living with anybody, let alone marriage, is everybody has their thing. Like everybody's looking at a room and seeing something different. Yeah. And you're seeing the other person's stuff. Yeah. Like I used to make fun of Ashley, my co-host on Celebrity Memoir Book Club, because she had this roommate that she would always talk shit about. And she was like, I will say very rarely did I feel Ashley was in the right for being mad. She'd be like, she makes smoothies at 10 a.m. Who the fuck is making smoothies at 10 a.m.? And I was like, that's truly like prime smoothie. She'd be like, can you imagine who's having a smoothie as a late breakfast, early lunch? And I was like, I think that is like the point of a smoothie. But one of the funny things that she would always complain about is that when this girl had her boyfriend over, they'd like sit in the living room and like watch TV. And she'd be like, she always has this guy over. And meanwhile, I never put an AC in. So whenever it got too hot in my apartment, I would just sleep at theirs. So hearing her complain about this girl's boyfriend being over, meanwhile, I'm like, I've been here for the last 5 straight nights.
You're like, I can't believe that girl. Yeah. What, I don't know. Not having living with someone, it does. You lived alone. I mean,
I've never lived alone.
Oh, you always had roommates, but you didn't never live with a guy before your husband, right?
No.
Yeah.
I've always had roommates. And actually one of those roommates once kind of moved her boyfriend in, so I lived with that guy, Carmen. It was the pandemic and he would take fucking Zoom calls from our kitchen table and I'd be like, that's the only place. Like you have to leave. There's 3 women here in a one person's apartment.
I think the like common theme of this podcast is how unaware people are. I hate it so much. I mean, the idea of taking a Zoom call in someone else's apartment in the middle, of
first thing in the morning.
Yeah,
it was crazy. And then also that was like our kitchen and the way our apartment. You've been in my apartment, so you had to walk through the kitchen to get to the bathroom. So people would be like, the other 2 girls would be trying to take a shower or something to get ready for their work day, and they're like in a towel in the back of his work Zoom call.
And the worst part about shit like that is when someone is so aggressively unaware and do exactly what they want, you end up catering to that person instead of that. They're obviously not catering to you. Or
because I just would leave the apartment. I'd be like, I can't be here. There's too many people here.
Instead of being like, hey man, go to your Zoom at your house. Yeah, like that's what you should have said. You know what I mean? Like,
and she was so funny because she'd always be like, why don't you and your boyfriend ever hang out here more? We should all be hanging out. And I was like, no. Yeah. This isn't Friends. This isn't Perk Cafe or whatever, Central Perk.
Yeah, I live with roommates, I guess, all throughout in New York. It feels weird to even. I feel so removed from that person now. I don't know. I feel like I've gotten so boring in a way. I feel like I used to be like a struggling artist who just lived in filth and like I was funnier because I didn't Like, you know, I don't know.
I feel that
didn't
I feel the
think about anything
pandemic
or care about anything or.
During the pandemic, a couple things in my life really solidified to like what I wanted them to, like, to the easier one. And I feel like, you know, so many things changed, and I feel like my life got so small in this way where like things weren't that bad anymore. And now I've come out and I'm like, some young comedian the other day was jokingly like, oh, do you want to go to a bar and talk about our deep thoughts? Like, I don't know that I've had a deep thought since 2019.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because the podcast took off during the pandemic. So I was able to quit my job, which is, you know, bullshit day jobs. That's what makes you laugh harder than that. I married my husband. So that was like, I'm no longer on the dating scene. We don't really have, you know, I've got my crumb thing, but that's at the end of the day, there's not a lot of bickering going on. There's not a lot of content there. I feel like my friendship circle got kind of closer and tight. Like, you're no longer just interacting with people at like that coworker level. And I feel like I'm just kind of looking around and being like, I don't know, what's funny going on?
Yeah, so many things we do, whether it's creative or if you want to be like an entrepreneur or some shit, it's like it's the pressure of having that day job, having, you know, of like rebelling against that. Rebelling against everything, and then once you rebel, that's like the highlight. Yeah, it's hard to rebel again. I mean, how many? It's like it'd be weird if like,
I feel I have much less creative juice, or even like I feel, not that I'm bored with my podcast, but definitely I'm like, okay, now my podcast is my day job, and for my whole 20s, I had a full-time day job, and I was doing stand-up at night and the podcast at night, and now it's so hard for me to like do other creative endeavors in my free time around, and it is like in this weird way I'm like, okay, Claire, like I almost think I'd be more productive if I went back to doing something completely different, because like there's such a hunger to get out of that scenario, and I feel like I have to.
Yeah, you just go back to being an executive assistant.
Yeah, could you imagine?
Like, just to feel alive.
just so I could just to say something funny, just to notice stuff.
There was something though about being in an office, being in a cubicle, being in like having a boss where you just were like, I don't know, I was so silly and immature because I wanted to counter whatever I hated in that person. And I don't really have that
and you
anymore.
have so much time where you're seated on somebody, like the amount of time I spent just sitting there thinking, whereas now nobody's watching me, so I can be on my phone, I can do, you know what I mean? Like you don't have that kind of, it's harder to hit boredom, I think, and from boredom comes so much juice, whereas now I'm like never really, even though I'm like kind of bored, I'm never like, nothing's stopping me from doing anything.
And then we have our phones in our pocket where you can literally
look at everybody else live their dreams. So why would you even try and pursue more of yours?
Well, you're going to Edinburgh and
I'm trying. Yeah, that's my whole thing. I mean, I need to write a lot more jokes, but I'm trying. That's like very much my like vanity project, investment in myself, trying to get things back on track before.
Well, I guess the cool thing though about having a successful podcast now is you have the ability to have, like, you could really do the exact hour you want, and I don't know, there's a lot of freedom.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that like I make money from the podcast that is now essentially facilitating that I can go do this, and hopefully, you know, I get a lot of clips out of it, and then the clips will get me jobs. Yeah,
which will make less money than you're already making.
I'm going to clip camp essentially. I'm spending a lot of money to go to clip camp.
Clip camp, where there'll be 4 people in the audience, so you're gonna have to like literally put in sound.
That's fine. I mean, that's fine. Like, why not? I mean, so many people who've never done stand-up do that, and then they get to go do rooms. And I'm like, well, I actually have the background. So why can't I take the shortcuts they took? Because I also took the long cuts.
Has anything annoying happened to you in the city lately? Like just walking around, subway, anything?
Oh, my God. I was hit by a car the other day.
Shut the fuck up. I literally just saw a woman get hit. Wait, what do you mean? Like, how
so
bad?
Where I live, it was, I mean, obviously, I'm living to tell the tale. I guess it was Friday.
It sucks when you have like a great, I mean, getting hit by a car. The start of that story.
Great. Well, here's the funny part. So I'm in this like WhatsApp group chat with all of my neighbors where we like come together to try to get the attention of city council to get our needs addressed, et cetera, et cetera. And I have this fantasy. The way my block is set up is we're actually like halfway. There's a long avenue, and then we're like halfway in the middle, and we're one of those tiny little half streets that only, you know what I mean? Like it's that block and that block only. It doesn't.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So it makes a T with this kind of main street, and there's no crosswalks to get across because it's in the middle. And so I was walking across, and this woman, I guess, stopped. And so I walked behind her, and then she backed up into me because she was trying to use our little half block as a shortcut, if that makes sense. Okay. She like drove by it. So I went across to my street, and then she backed up into me.
Oh, you got hit in reverse.
In reverse. And
how hard did you fall?
No, I was okay. It wasn't, I mean, I was right behind her, so there was very little room, but I was hit. It was shocking.
It kind of sucks when you don't get hit
Yeah,
hard enough to
nothing's
fall.
better
'cause
than when you
can't
have-
call them out. Yeah.
And nothing's better than when you have like once I got graded, I tripped over a tree grate, and but it had 3 prongs, and they stabbed me, and I had the wind knocked out of me, and it was that embarrassing thing where I was just going for a walk, and my husband's like, "Do you need to go home?" And I was kind of like, "I think so," and I was like, "How embarrassing!" But then I lifted my shirt up, it looked like I'd been mauled by a dog. You know what I mean? I was like, "Thank God."
Yeah, thank God. I got stabbed, and when I got stabbed, it was such a small knife that it was just a small puncture wound. It would be if a slash would have been great, like a scar, like. Oh, you got freak, you know what I mean?
I mean, nothing feels better than being like, I feel bad, and having something that like shocks people to be like, yeah, I'm allowed to feel bad.
I got hit by a car. Was it bad? No, I actually just moved like 3 inches.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
And then can you sue on how bad does a car crash have to be to go, I'm going to get 1-800, my lawyer involved?
I guess that's the thing that these people do, right? You get like 5 years, so you get their information, and then 4 years.
You have 5 years to sue if you wanted?
I think so. I think you have like a long time period, because I was on the jury of a car accident that it was like it had been like a tiny little fender bender 5 years earlier, and then the guy ended up getting knee surgery on both knees for like frayed meniscus after he was a professional soccer player in Haiti or something.
Okay.
And they're like, no, it was because of the fender bender. He needed surgery on both knees.
Unbelievable.
And I was
they tried to put that on you?
No, I was on the jury.
Oh, you were on the jury.
And it was so contentious that we were a hung jury, and somebody like threw a chair. The bailiff came in and was like, what the fuck is going on in this room?
So did they see like when his knees were actually hurting? Like can they tell by looking at someone's knees if it was caused by an accident?
Yeah, of course. But the problem is the jury is so stupid. And each side hires a specialist to come in and like read the MRI or whatever. And these people were so fucking dumb that they kept going, that's not even the doctor that took the MRI. And I was like, well, no doctor takes an MRI. It's taken by a technician. And then the x-ray is just the x-ray. And it shows for like all of time, doctors can come and give their opinion on this image, right?
So can you walk me through like what happened? So the guy goes, suing this guy because I got in a car wreck and it hurt both my knees, which is kind of crazy.
Well, the evidence was that he had exactly.
And then the counter so what was the positive what was the evidence going for him of why
that he had gotten these knee surgeries?
And he could show that it was caused by the accident?
No.
Oh.
But like that's what they argued.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because like they had this person come in and be like, well, what I'm seeing here is there's like fraying.
Okay.
And they'd be like, fraying is consistent with use, right? And I remember getting back in the jury room, and this one woman goes, frayed, Claire, frayed like jeans. That means ripped. And I go, well, no, when jeans fray, it's because you've been walking on them consistently. They weren't like a rip is one thing. A tear, frayed means over. Like, and she would just go, no, frayed like jeans, they get ripped.
Yes.
And I just was like, it was so crazy. It was so crazy. No, because it was a hung jury, so they had to do a full retrial. And these people it was really eye-opening to how important it is to do jury duty, because people are so stupid. They kept going, he's got the money to pay him. He owns a laundromat in Queens. And I kept going, do you think that that's a rich thing to be?
Yeah, also, it's like, that should have no bearing on whether or not the guy...
And you know what their big thing was? They kept going, well, if it was me, I would want the money, so I'm going to say he can have it.
Wow.
It was really shocking.
That's actually really, So I think you could.
And then you know what happened is, so these kind of trivial lawsuit guys, right? Like they're like very like 1-800 injury. They come in, they clean up. They're ambulance chasers. They all have on staff consultants that they bring in that they pay to be expert witnesses on these trials. So the defense team had this man that was supposed to come in and read the MRI. Instead, he had died. So they had to real quick find somebody else that could do it. They found this older woman. She was a middle-aged woman, like in her 60s or whatever. The offense, what do you call it? The
prosecutor?
The prosecutor had found out that I guess when she was like in her early 30s, she briefly lost her doctor's license because she was caught prescribing her pill addict ex-husband drugs. And so she had briefly, and so she's up on trial being like, why did you lose your thing? And she's like, almost, they bully her into tears, where she's like, it was just a bad marriage. I had a little baby. I was doing the best I could. Like, we've divorced. I paid my dues or whatever. I mean, talk about a mistake she made 30 years ago. And we're in the jury duty going, and they're going, we can't believe a word she said. They're going, nothing she says can be believed because she is a a chronic liar, as evidenced by the mistake she made with her addict ex-husband, baby daddy. And I was just like, you people are insane.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy how
I've never
stupid they
done
were.
jury. I've never gotten a summons. Maybe because I moved so much.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's important to go because you have to think, if it was you out there, you'd want one intelligent person on.
Maybe I don't. It sounds like I don't.
Yeah, I guess if you're suing.
Yeah, if I'm suing, I want the dumbest people on earth. And I'll come off as poor as possible. I'll come in wearing I'll just smell like dog shit and be like, I'm homeless.
I know, but be careful because that could backfire too. You
can't be too shitty.
It's really important. I mean, it really was an interesting look at how people judge.
Yeah.
And then one of the things is the judge was not really nice to the prosecution. And I imagine it's because she's like, these are just people who make up these lawsuits for money, kind of. They just go up to you and go, have you ever been in even an accident? All right, you could sue. Did you know you could sue? And so she was kind of not really paying attention to them. And the jury really held the defense accountable for the judge's perceived slights of the prosecution.
I wonder, you get the elective surgery or whatever of getting your knees fixed, right? Which he probably didn't have insurance to cover that. So it's probably a huge bill. So when did he go, okay, I have this huge bill now. I got my knees fixed. Oh, I got hit in a car accident 3 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just interesting. It's like if you I don't know, broke your arm tomorrow and you're down.
Well, I think what I could do is
that car hit me.
I'd be able to be oh, my neck's always hurted. I had to go to a chiropractor because of her. I didn't get her info though because I assume I'm always in the wrong in situations. So my feeling was oh, I fucked up because there's no crosswalk I shouldn't have crossed. But I think you're still not allowed to back up into a person.
I know. No,
but anyway,
sure.
the reason I even brought this story up is so I text my WhatsApp group chat being like, hey guys, just got hit by a car. I'm fine. but has anybody ever thought about getting a crosswalk for our street to make it safer? Crickets. Crickets.
Now, why crickets, you think?
Because, the politics of home ownership is tricky. And I thought I came to them and being, if it's not the things they care about are parking. I think parking, housing value, and to them, the way to get housing value to go up is get rid of all the poor people in the neighborhood.
Wouldn't a crosswalk seem like a rich thing?
Yeah, but I think they go, when I'm driving my car, I'm gonna have to stop at that crosswalk now.
Yeah.
What is that crosswalk gonna take up one of my parking spots, one of my street parking spots? I think that's how they think.
How do you meet these? How does someone meet the other homeowners?
There was a big push because they're very unhappy with the heroin on our street, and then also
there's heroin users on your street.
Yeah, big time. That's kind of all they care about. And then also, actually, there's a big Bangladeshi hangout on our corner, and people really want them out.
I mean, at some point, I don't know. It's tough because it's I really do want safety for my kids, but I also don't want to come off racist.
But what's funny is and this is not I live in a historically black neighborhood where there's a lot of white people coming in, but they both don't like the Bangladeshi. And there was a big...
So you have a common enemy.
Well, and one of the black guys actually got arrested for confronting one of the Bangladeshi about their motorbike use. And in that scenario, they kept going, you're being dangerous on the streets, you're going to hit one of the kids. There's not that many kids on my block, to be honest. But it was funny because they were so worried about street safety then. But when little old Claire got hit by her car, crickets.
Yeah.
Because most importantly, it's parking. The number one thing they're concerned about is parking.
I mean, street parking's dog shit in New York. I mean, it does really ruin your life if you have a bad parking situation by your house. Especially I don't know, you have to move it every Wednesday, you know what I mean? It's just and that becomes your whole life of getting your car to move.
But I guess the counter argument would be, well, why do you then get rid of the car? You know what I mean? New York City is one of the few cities on earth that's been set up so that you don't really need a car. Yeah. So it is funny to think that car ownership should be a politically prioritized. You could go anywhere else in America, truly anywhere else in America, and they agree with you, and they've built a world around your car. This is the one place where pedestrians and public transportation users get some say, and they're like, no, but this should be a car city too. Just go somewhere else.
I mean, there is something about I could never be part of an HOA or stuff like that. Like just the small town politics stuff.
It's really interesting.
I'm sure it's fun, and it's like it's a lot of drama, a lot of gossip. But to me, I don't know. Someone who cares that much about like you fixed your garage without talking to.
Well, what's funny is like I can see how it seems like who cares about that, but at the end of the day, what matters more to you than like the daily quality of your life, your number one asset. You know what I mean? Like this is the people's biggest asset probably. Yeah. This is the safety of their family, their children. Like if where you live in your houses is getting slowly less safe or more like that, like what matters more?
I hear you, but I mean, just because like.
And I get like the kind of like, oh, I don't like your lawn nonsense, but like that gets but it is like, I see both sides where you're like, this feels so stupid and little, but it gets like is the most impactful part of your life.
It is interesting when you buy a home, the level of like stuffiness that comes with it because you want to protect your asset, you become more of an asshole than when you're just renting for like $800 a month. 100%. So you like right when you sign on that, it's like, all right, I got to protect this. And then
I think it's the protection.
But people shouldn't. Just because you care that much about your house doesn't mean anyone else should.
But the thing is, people have to care, or the neighbor, but that is true. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, part of it, if this neighborhood next week got so bad for whatever reason, 17 drug dealers set up shop here, and this becomes like randomly the most dangerous block on the Upper West Side, you leave, right? You could just say, oh, I won't send the police, we're out of here. Like when things are a problem, somebody has to care enough to fix it.
Yeah.
And I do, you know what I mean? Like, and it is.
No, of course. I mean, I definitely could be the kind of person that would just ignore it until
yeah, that's the whole problem in your marriage, right?
40 drug dealers are inside my apartment.
Yeah, and like, you know what I mean? Like if, for example, if we just had all of our branches came down off a tree in front of us because of the storm last week.
Yeah.
If all of the branches came down off of your tree and were like blocking the road and causing like a problem, would you ever call the city and be like, can you come remove these? No, you would just let people trip and, right?
Yeah, something pressing like that. I think there's like
right now you would
different...
assume somebody else would call, right?
Yes, I always assume that.
Yeah.
I'll hear someone scream in the street. I'm like, someone else got that.
Exactly. Somebody has to make the call.
Yeah. What's that, the bystander effect?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have that. Well, that is what happened. I don't know. I already told this. Whatever. Actually, I don't even have to tell that story. But I'm definitely not the type of person that steps up with those things. You know? I don't know. I do think they're somewhere in the middle.
No, I agree.
Between a tree that's fallen.
Listen, I'm not like... I'm like, listen, the Bangladeshis, they get to hang out where they want. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm not kicking them out.
Where do the Bangladeshis live?
I don't know. Not here. It's like it's not like they live there and they're just hanging on their own stoop.
Yeah.
There's like a little Bangladesh.
Got you.
That like there's like a couple little corner stores, and so they all just sit, and then they do sit on everybody's stoop. You know what I mean? It's like our block is like their hang. So late at night you're sleeping and people are like on your stoop chatting.
Yeah, and if it was anything, yeah, it is tough with the city because if this was anywhere else really in America and some random person is sitting on your house stairs that you own, you should have a say.
And it is so funny because I'm like, I'm like this white gentrifier and I have all my white guilt. And when people are shooting up heroin on my stoop, I'm like, do you want water? Are you okay? But meanwhile, like it has been funny. I'm like, who doesn't want someone to pass out and OD on their stoop? Like the 85-year-old black woman who lives next to me, who has been there for like, it's actually not safe for her or fair to her when like people are sleeping in her doorway and she can't get out because there's a man sleep. Like, you know what I mean? So there is this thing where I'm like, there is this feeling of like, oh, the nice thing to do is let everybody hang out and do drugs and like don't bother them.
Yeah, be cool.
But then I am like, oh, you know what? Actually, older people, they don't love it either.
No, of course. I mean, it's a tough thing when it's like to complain as a white person who come in there and essentially appropriated and paid extra, brought up the home prices, and then you're like, oh, and also, like, how far does it have to go to justify for you to feel okay with complaining? Like, does the heroin needle need to be in your neck?
Well, that's what I love. I have a neighbor who's so complaining about the neighborhood, and I'm just like, well, lady, I guess then you should have bought something smaller somewhere else. Like, if you wanted, like, I am kind of like, well, where did you think you moved? And she's always complaining about our councilman, how he hasn't. And I kind of want to be like, well, what do you think he should do? Round up every drug user in the city and like put them in, like, what is your solution here?
Yeah.
This is a large problem that's like very complicated and difficult. But there's also like, I feel like I have friends who live and he would be like, the worst thing you could do is call the cops, never call the blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you live in a fully gentrified neighborhood where like you are at the tail end of it. And like, you don't know any old people. You don't know any locals.
Yeah.
Like,
and what's
it's
their
just you and your
reasoning for never calling the cops?
Just, fuck
Fuck
cab.
Yeah.
Fuck 12 type shit. But it is funny because I think I am like, I wouldn't want to call the cops because I don't want to be the person who trying to help get somebody shot by accident. You know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, my black neighbors are calling the cops.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's fine. They can do it.
I mean, someone's robbing my house. What should I do? Just internalize it. Internalize that. No, it is frustrating.
But that's the thing is no one's robbing my house. Somebody's having, like I will say the thing about heroin, man, it doesn't make you pissed. Like they're chill as hell.
Yeah.
Like
too chill.
I don't ever feel afraid because they're always like, they're distracted. If they're doing heroin, they don't really care about me.
No, there was a guy on my street in LA and I don't know if it was heroin or fentanyl, but he was always outside and he was always on the street. He was just always there. And he wasn't angry. He wasn't loud. He just he spit a lot. And he just had this droopiness to him. But it was, sometimes you don't have to be loud to be loud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're aware.
Yeah. And maybe because there wasn't that many, it was really just him. And I would see him literally every day. Every day. No matter what. He would always be, and then he'd be in Whole Foods. I don't know. He might have just been a figment of my imagination. But there is something. Your
dark psyche.
Yeah. I don't know. There's just something about people can be chill. But it's still
Yeah, and I don't have I get you have kids. I saw Michael Cera was doing a bit about how he lives in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And he was like, I used to have no problem with it. And now that we have kids, my wife is like, I actually hate that there's needles everywhere on the ground where our kids are walking.
Of course.
Or my Christine, I've heard him be like, I don't know, man, you ever had your kid on a slide and then you notice that there's human liquids and needle. You can't have children playing in a playground where they could accidentally get AIDS.
Yes.
And that's fair. So it is kind of
that is pretty fair. I think that's fair.
You know what I mean? It's yeah.
So what do? Do you just
I'm letting my bitch neighbor handle it. I'm like I'm a nice white. She's a mean white. She'll handle it.
You just get her riled up, just talk through you.
You don't have to get her. Man, you do not have to get her riled
Yeah.
up. She's pissed.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
But then they're trying to build affordable housing by me, and they're like, we don't want that garbage. And I'm like, okay, guys, chill out.
I'd rather live in a smaller place and not have to deal with
Yeah, but how many options do you have, really?
This place is nice.
I was shocked.
Yeah. What did you think I lived in?
I just thought this is a nice.
When I said Upper West Side, you probably weren't.
I was
even
wow.
starting there.
Yeah. No, this is a beautiful block and a beautiful building.
Yeah.
A nice apartment.
Yeah.
I didn't know what you were up to.
Look. No, we got a great deal. I talked about it on this podcast before.
What do you pay for this place?
Oh, you don't want to know.
I would love to know. I had a great deal for 10 years. It was a big part of my personality was I had the best deal in Williamsburg.
Yeah, I could say, I guess. I could always bleep it out too.
Yeah. Cut it.
$45,000 a month. No. Could you imagine? No.
Oh, wow.
Crazy.
I have a friend who I'll say my friend. I went to his apartment and they had this 4-bedroom spot in Williamsburg with a deck. And I was like, how the fuck are they affording this? Is this so nice? It's just this one couple that lives there. And Thomas is like, don't talk about it. And then finally he goes, okay, the deal is he used to live here with 3 roommates before the pandemic. And then at some point during the pandemic, they just stopped hearing from their landlord. And now it's been 3 years and nobody's heard from the landlord. So they just haven't paid rent in 3 years.
Shut up. Did the landlord probably died?
Probably. And I wonder if
But wouldn't that have gone to next of kin? And
maybe. I think there must be some I don't know.
It could be building up too. They might get hit with a huge
I don't think, can I say, I don't think they can hold you accountable for that. I really don't. I think if you get in and out, there are a lot of tenant laws.
Rent and then you don't hear from the landlord for a year and you just don't pay rent. You don't think it's accumulating?
Yeah, but they can't make you pay for it at gunpoint. They can hurt your credit score, but that's it. But who cares? And you got all that cash saved up. Pay for everything in cash. You don't need credit.
You think you're going to save it up or not spend it on something?
I mean, it's not me, but
yeah,
whatever. But exactly, they can't come from money you don't have. I actually one time left her apartment and just didn't pay the last few months. And they called her every day and she just didn't pick up and they gave up. I feel like that happens where like you know what I mean. Mac in the pandemic left, and I think he owed a couple months rent.
No, the pandemic definitely, like, you could always blame the pandemic.
And his credit score got hit, but he built it. I don't know. I do think that there are actually a lot of tenant laws.
Yeah.
That like weirdly, even though it's such a hellish situation, I think they'll be okay.
Yeah. No.
And I think they get to be like, well, and especially because
tenant. I'm not.
Listen, they beat their lease, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they never agreed to anything for the next year or the year after that or the year after that. If you don't have them sign a contract,
Yeah.
nobody asked for the money. How are they supposed to know you wanted it?
I'll tell you what, these guys, for whatever it is, they'll hit me up all the time before I have to pay. They're on top of it. Yeah. We actually we saw this place. There was cockroaches in the bathtub.
And
So
they
we
were like, and you were like, could we get off for that? And they were like, no.
Well, we were like, does anyone even live in this building? We thought the building might have been just like a ghost building.
Well, that's what's so fucked up is like all the abandoned buildings and all the empty units.
Oh, it's wild.
I think it should be illegal. I think you should be taxed on an empty unit exactly as if it was full. Whatever you have it on the market for, you should be getting taxed like that by that the whole time to incentivize one, lowering the price, and two, not letting it sit empty.
Yeah. I know. I would argue that, but then
You're like the beneficiary. Is your brother like a big real estate guy who's like making money off of like building these giant, like there's a big building by me, and I've heard that their strategy is you price it at what you think you can make the neighborhood worth in 3 years, and then you let it sit empty for 3 years as you drive up the other rents until you become like the median.
damn.
That's the strategy, because these giant development companies can, and then there's also a tax write-off if you're like, I don't know, I can get anybody, and then also you get to say, look at what my asset's worth.
Yeah, I think what happens is they own the buildings, and then the unit, whatever it would take to, you can't raise the rents, and so they don't want to fix them up and not be able to rent them at that rate. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense for them.
Yeah.
So it actually makes more sense for them to just sit there. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand why you wouldn't. Because if you don't know the tenant, you try to kick them out. You can't kick them out, like as easy as So then you got a tenant stuck in there that you're gonna have to pay to remove, essentially. So I don't know. They would love for the law to not be, where they could restrict what the payment rent, the increases are.
It's so you have to. You always think at some point it'll hit a ceiling where people will, like, how can everybody be living here still? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I look around. I don't know how.
Like I am just like
unless you have a deal. Like I don't understand.
Like the way that everything has like doubled in the last 5 years, you're like, surely there's gonna be a point where somebody's just gonna go, no, I'm not paying $4,500 to live in a studio with like no bathtub, nothing. But like at some point there'll be a limit to what people would be willing to pay. But it seems that there's no limit.
Well, that's when you get this new mayor.
Yeah.
That's what's the counter to that.
And you're feeling afraid?
No, honestly, I think that would actually even solidify even more me staying here.
Yeah.
Because he believes in rent increases across the board.
Yeah, you'll be here till you die.
I don't think real estate developers love this guy.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you were feeling afraid for your life.
Oh, because he's a Muslim and I'm Jewish?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I don't even know where to start with that stuff. But like my family, I was never really that Jewish. I grew up in Florida with no Jewish people. I had a bar mitzvah, but I bought a jet ski with all the money. I don't even know what happened to a jet ski. So that's like the least Jewish story you've ever heard. I think my older brother like put it in a 401k account. Like his bar mitzvah money is like worth like $9.
Yeah, he bought Apple early.
Yeah. And I bought a jet ski that I don't even think I had gas for. And
but can I say, laughter, the priceless memories? Like those are memories. Those are memories.
Yeah, it's a memory. Yeah. I don't know. And yeah, as long as you keep your rent down, you could buy a jet ski when you're 13 instead. But no, a lot of people are calling this dude an anti-Semite and stuff. And I mean, my family and stuff have done like, I have family that literally went in the Israeli army. They've done a ton of work for Israel in raising money for Israel, like for like the waterways there. Like they're a huge believer in Israel. Ever since I was a kid, it was like, I can't like believe how like much of a hot topic Israel is now. having a family like that that's so pro-Israel your whole life, and how it's seen as the underdog and the little guy, and to even say one bad thing about, like, it would be like I would be going against. Like, I'm so scared to even like talk right now.
Sorry, I thought you wanted to bring it.
Oh no, but it's fine. It feels like kind of so. When you're Jewish, I don't know. It's like you have like this like feeling since birth of like, don't talk bad about Israel or you're going against
your people.
Yeah, and it's seen as weak because if you now I get part of it because it's like if you give an inch, you feel like you're going to end up in another Holocaust. So your fear is then driven to be as strong as possible. Because if you show any weakness, even though weakness in peace is seen as, you know what I mean? So, anyways, this new mayor is a Muslim guy who they just want to paint as a terrorist. And if you listen to him really speak and you really like, I hear so much in like Muslims now where it's like, where they're instantly judged and seen as less than and whatever is exactly how I'm sure Jews were judged. And we still are in a lot of circles. So it's just like, I don't know. It's weird how much similarities there are, yet they just want to keep it divided. And I think a lot of that division comes from the Jewish government and wanting to be able to do what they've been doing, because without an enemy and making them seem as bad as possible, it doesn't justify what they're doing. So anyhow.
Anyway, you met Zohran. You were charmed.
I went to Rami Yusuf's, he's a buddy of mine. He's from Egypt originally. He's a Muslim from Egypt. I've been friends with him for 6 years. He's been very outspoken about Free Palestine, and I know this guy pretty intimately.
Yeah.
And I could tell you right now, I've never heard one anti-Semitic thing. I've only heard love. I've only heard like that he wants the best for Jewish people as well. He just doesn't want kids to die, kids and women to die on either side, and he'd be the first. And that's the thing about like Zohran is he's like, if you ask about October 7th, he'll say it was a war crime. That was horrible. Like he's literally said that. But then they go, well, why don't you talk about globalizing intifada? Intifada, when you start using words like that, it's a nice buzzword for these people because intifada, it sounds scary.
You know what someone commented on one of my TikToks? They go, I'm not even in America, but you have to admit, like, go Zohran sounds so evil. And I'm like, oh, well, that's racist. Why would the word Zohran sound evil to you? That's just a dude's name. Like,
dude, they want to paint him as literally.
Yeah,
they just want to paint him as like, I don't know. They want to paint him as this monster. And if you listen to him talk, it only comes from like a place of love. Like he did like a rap song where he mentioned people that funded Hamas, where it's like, okay, well, if a bunch of people are dying and there's like, and he has one rap song, one lyric, and you're like, that's him. That's exactly who he is. And it's like, and then you do some research and then you're like, oh, well, Netanyahu literally funded Hamas through Qatar. And I like know all these things. I don't even know why I know. Like I've like it's like the things like because I do like I think I want to justify feeling like not against Israel, but like I want to justify like these feelings I feel. So like I have a reason to feel them, and where I feel like I could like talk about it in a way where it's like I hope my family doesn't hate me for not completely
Well, I think
agreeing.
the Israel topic is so tricky because there's been like a lot of good work done where there's this idea of like you don't understand. There's like been a lot of silencing, I think, historically on questions people have that are valid by them going, well, it's too complicated for you to get.
Yes.
And it's so funny because there's no other topic really like that you're expected to know. Like, you know what I mean? If somebody said, oh, racism against black people in America is bad, and they were like, okay, well then explain this battle. Yeah. Explain this battle in 1892. You know what I mean? That happened in Virginia where this slave revolt happened. Like, no one would expect you to know every moment of detail. You get to go, you really can't own other people. Like, you really can't be racist against an entire
And at one
group.
point, that was a crazy thing to say.
Yeah, and I'm sure they were like, it's just so complicated because of the economy.
Yeah,
and
we
so
need
I
this
think
money
you feel
to,
that you have to have like a very well-researched retort because no matter what you say, they get to go, well, it's just too complicated to understand. And you're like,
Which I don't do about
Yeah.
anything. I don't really
Yeah.
research anything for some reason.
No,
I'm
but you're like, I like abortions. I like.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm still.
You know what I mean?
I'm still anti-abortion, and I'm still, very racist.
Pro-life.
But the
Pro-life, pro-death penalty.
But I'm at the Rami thing, and he literally goes, are there any Muslims here? And he goes, are there any Jewish people here? To his crowd of 1,400 people at the Beacon. And I made noise, and it was so funny. We were sitting next to this Palestinian, the nicest Palestinian older woman, sitting next to my wife, and her son was with him. And I left to the bathroom, and I came back, and they're like, oh, my wife's like, they're Palestinian. I was like, oh. She goes, yeah, I told them I'm Puerto Rican and you're Jew. And I was like, maybe you should have said I'm from Ukraine. Or like
something likable.
She's like, but you're Jewish. That's who you are. And I was like, no, I know. Yeah. So anyhow, he calls out and he's like, and the whole feeling of this is like love. And then Zohran comes out, and look, there is like, I don't love like a demigod either. Like I don't love people being like, I don't think he's gonna, cure cancer here. Like I don't, but it is nice, a refreshing thing of someone that's at least coming from, it seems like humanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
To get behind. And he came out and everyone went insane.
Mm-hmm.
And Brenna went insane, and it was great because she's like, who is that? Like, but she was like standing going, fuck yeah! Woo! And she's like, who the hell is that? And then they brought out the other dude that got arrested for writing an op-ed.
From Harvard?
Columbia.
Columbia, okay.
Yeah.
Fun.
I don't know.
Well, welcome back to New York.
I know.
What a New Yorkie.
It's very New York. So here I am being like, I don't know. I feel so like messed up in the head about all this stuff.
It seems tough to be in the middle of family,
and then like, I don't know. I have like one cousin who's like works for Bernie,
mm-hmm.
and then his brother is like the one that was in the Israeli army.
Yeah. But anyway, have you had funny things happen to you in New York?
I know.
Have you been
just
hit by
got
any cars?
serious. Have I been? I know. I told this story on the last podcast, but I saw a woman get hit by a car.
Was it me?
It might have been you.
Was it Claire Parker from Celebrity Memoir Book Club?
But I didn't help her up, and because I was walking this puppy that we fostered.
He's gone.
He got adopted. Actually, he got adopted 2 days ago. So this puppy has he was pissing on everything. He shit on our bed like 3 times. Anytime we leave him in the crate for more than 5 minutes, he loses his like fucking mind.
Did he get adopted and you were kind of like, be careful, you got a bad one?
I didn't say it.
But because you didn't want to foster anymore, but you were kind of like, oh, buyer's remorse.
I'm a little worried that there's going to be some buyer's remorse, and I think they're going to hit us up and be like,
can you take this fucking
this was
puppy
a fucking lemon. But I don't think
Do you think it was fixable, or you just think he's a baby?
No, I think it is fixable, and I think it's funny because the people that are adopting him, the guy was like, I wake up every morning at 4 a.m. and I go for a run, and I can't wait to. So literally,
this puppy doesn't know what he's in
for. No, we're sending
puppy's fucked.
Dude, we're sending the puppy to fucking military school.
Did you? I'm like so jealous of those people. Did you know that about me? I don't know why you would.
What's that about? People that wake up mad early and get shit
just
done?
Like all of that productive, like the people who like log how many sit-ups and how many calories and how many breaths and how many pages of a book. Like I have such like a productivity fetish, and I have such a productivity shame as somebody who isn't like waking up, fucking doing, you know what I mean? Like I want to be those people. I love those people. I'm so jealous.
So are you jealous about the work ethic? Or are you jealous about the time management, or
all of it? The work ethic, the time management, the discipline. I am like, God, if I could be them, I would be president.
I know so much of that shit is thrown in our face on TikTok and Instagram.
And I really it really is appealing to me. I feel like everybody has their kind of.
Have you tried to do anything like that?
Yeah, of course. Every day of my life, I have a plan for tomorrow.
Okay. Oh,
every day of my life, my new plan for today is come up with a better plan for tomorrow.
And it just never. And then you wake up and
then
you go,
hard,
all right, maybe the next day.
Like touring and like, you know what I mean? We've recently said we're done touring for at least 2 years, and it comes from this feeling of I just feel like I can never kind of get my feet on solid ground, and I think every day is so different, which sometimes is fun, but I feel very like I need to get a goddamn grip on my life.
Mm-hmm. And you think waking up at 4 a.m. and going to a gym and then doing a cold plunge and all that stuff, you don't think you'll get tired of that in 3 weeks, and that's your personality of like. What
then the idea is like then you come home and you write for 2 hours, and it's like if you're writing for 2 hours every single day, eventually something comes out. Whereas you know what I mean, when you only write when you feel inspired, I don't know that you make as much progress.
I feel you. I get that. I think though that you wouldn't be the person you are.
No, of course not.
Yeah, without because I'll tell you what. You know who's not hilarious?
Is disciplined people?
Yeah.
No, of course not.
Sometimes, rarely, or they're like, I don't know. I don't see David Goggins making fun of himself. You know, being self-deprecating or like seeing the world through the eyes of like, I can't accomplish. I don't know. It's one of those things where I think also it's like, are they really doing these things or is it just for the fucking 10-second clip on?
I think there are people out there who are really doing these things.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know, sapping up all the resources of the world.
I've tried to do stuff like that. I did like this hard 45.
That's like as opposed to 75 hard.
Oh no, that's what it was.
Okay. I was like, you did like half of the hard thing.
I did.
Okay.
That is what it is. 75 hard. I did it.
Well,
but I didn't do it for all 75 days.
Yeah, of course not.
I think I did it for 4 hours.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
No, and I was soft.
I'm trying to go in. I want to lose 5 pounds and I'm really like.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 200 calories into today. I have 1,450 calories left.
Oh, so you are counting.
Yeah.
So you're starting to do it.
Yeah, but every single day I wake up and I count how many calories are for my breakfast, and by dinner I'm like, fuck. Whatever.
So why don't you fast?
I think I should. I guess I should. What do you like? Intermittent fast?
I do that.
What are your hours of operation?
Usually 8 to 12. I try. So last night
8 p.m. till 12 p.m. the next day.
Yeah.
You can't eat. So you get 8-hour windows.
You just skip fucking breakfast and don't even think about it. Just
That's-
don't eat till noon.
That's really the hack. But the problem is, I'm always out to eat. I'm like back to the beginning of this thing. Is every single day I'm like, well, I guess I want a sweet treat, and so let's go get ice cream. You know?
Yeah. I think you just have to. I don't know. It becomes routine, and then if you want the sweet treat, you just do it within the window.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. The rereason why the intermittent fasting is good is because it's like
there's only so many calories you can have in those.
And you don't have to think about what you eat or what you. I mean, you can't. But then the problem is, you're like, well, I'll just have a fucking 3 pizzas inside 6 hours.
Like, and I'm just like wolfing. You know how fast I told you I can eat very fast. The amount of damage I can do in 8 hours is
yeah. I think
innumerable.
But yeah, I think that shit. Whatever. It's always whatever. I feel like we're both kind of people like the grass is always greener. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, if I do this, then I'll be happy. If I do this, then I'll feel fulfilled.
Well, my problem is I'm so happy now, and I almost worry it's like hacking at me.
Yeah, why can't you just live in that?
Because it feels like there's got to be, I really am, I'm capitalism pilled. It's so funny.
In the sense of?
I do, like, even though I am pretty happy every day and I have a lot going on, and the truth of my heart is it is enough, but then there's this voice in my head saying, like, you have to be more successful. But, like, the problem, like, you know what I mean? It's an annoying voice because I'm living in the moment being happy.
Yeah. And how much more successful until you think you'd truly be happy?
I do think the problem right now is that I'm bored with what I'm doing professionally. And so I need to kind of like.
Now, if you were making more money doing exactly what you're doing, do you think you'd be fulfilled? Oh.
No. And I think it would almost make things worse because I think I'd be able to fill my days with more meaningless things that would like put a larger wedge between me and the problem. Do you know what I mean?
So what would you want it? So you're bored with whatever you're doing creatively, like, and you're going to Edinburgh. Mm-hmm. Which is my concrete step towards fixing the problem I'm in. Which is great. It seems like a little bit of a Band-Aid because it's like so removed from your everyday life. I'm looking at it as like a boot camp. And so my goal is I get a lot of clips, and then I'm going to come home and I'm going to shoot a special based on the hour I form there. And then I'll have something kind of concrete. Because I do sometimes look back at the last 10 years I've spent doing stand-up, and I think I have kind of nothing to show for it, you know? Yeah, but do you think... And then my hope would be I'll be able to use that and like put out clips, and in the promotion of that, I'll like regain my identity as this comic and get booked more, because I don't really have dreams of doing like comedy theaters, but I do want to be back in the scene. I do miss it as a creative outlet. And I feel right now it's hard to get up in the city for me because I'm not at a club or anything. And so my dream life, I think, would be to have like a fun comedy day job like the podcast, but maybe at a larger level where we have more people involved because I like to chat. And then at night, like 4 times a week, be able to get up on stage. You know what I mean? And kind of like work stuff out. That would be my dream. But right now I'm having a hard time getting enough stage time to feel like I'm truly like churning through a good amount of material. Yeah. I feel each set is so precious that so that was part of this idea. It's like I'll write all new material. It'll force me to write new stuff. And then I'll get, because I think it's so much like you just have to tell people who you are. Right now people think of me as a podcaster. I think a lot of people don't even know I did stand up, or they're not, when they're booking their shows,
I'm just not top of mind. And so this is kind of like a.
No, I've done the same thing, and I feel like I constantly was like, I have to shoot it exactly right before I could release my. But if I don't know, lately I've just been putting out material of like from New York Comedy Club, and like I'm not thinking about. And if I do,
you
shoot
can't.
a
That's
special,
the thing is you can't be too precious with it, or you'll never.
Yeah.
And I think the thing I keep. My like mantra this year is I'm not going to be the person that tells me I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll put my shit online because I look at people online with specials and stuff and I go, well, this isn't good. Who let them do that? And I'm like, they did. The person not letting me put my own shit online is me.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it sucks so bad that the whole world wants me bombed because I'm so unfunny, if they say we have to kill her, like they can say that, but I'm not going to say you're not allowed to put your comedy out there because you're not good enough. I'll let because people then watch comedy that I think sucks and go, this is so great. This is so great. And I go, okay. So like let that, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think we protect ourselves by either saying our stand up like it needs to be shot perfectly or everything needs to be in the right order, especially when you see me as a podcaster, but now you're going to see me as a comedian because this is my identity. Yeah. This is not just my identity. I can be taken seriously as a comedian and we put all that shit on us and it's like.
And I feel I've experienced that part of the internet that comes like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like there's the beauty to me of stand-up is controlling the energy of the room. Yeah. That like when you're doing well, you're on stage and like you get to tell them how to feel about you. And that really is the thing about stand-up that I love. Mm-hmm. And there is this weird, like putting a clip online is the antithesis of that. You like take this joke that you've written that you think is funny, that worked in real life or you wouldn't have put it out there. Mm-hmm. And it becomes like this completely other thing that has to do with however, like, you know what I mean? And it sucks because the whole fun of it was being in a room telling this joke and like knowing how people would respond, and then suddenly it takes on a life of its own and you have to be.
Yeah, no, I literally started, I never put up clips. I never did it. And I finally did it like the last couple weeks and they've done pretty good, but they haven't gone viral. Mm-hmm. But it's also like, whatever, it's all like bullshit, but the algorithm stuff, like it only it used to show it to more of my followers who are already like me. It's like that's all I care about. Send it to the 40,000 people that love me. Yeah, and no. But it will send to non-followers, which I guess then it's like, am I not good enough for strangers to like me, or am I not generic enough? Am I not relatable enough? But the posts do good, but they don't do great. Yeah, but that's just the numbers. You have to throw out 100 and then one does well, and you don't know why it was that one. Yeah, but that's what always makes me laugh when something random goes viral and all the comments are like, why would, as if everything anyone puts on TikTok was like them being like, if I could say one thing to a room of 1 million people, this is what I'm like, no, they just sneezed, thought it was funny. Yes. They're not going to die on this hill. You don't have to yell at them. They didn't even know this was going to happen. But I did like Instagram because I did feel like it was more stable in the sense of sending out your material. It's much safer. Yeah, it feels like where more people would see it. Yeah. Maybe not as many. Yeah. But the core would see it. Yeah. And I feel like they have switched over to more the reels and So anyways, don't worry about it. I think I think going to Edinburgh is going to be great, and I think you're going to feel fulfilled, and I think not focusing on what you're not doing, you know. And well, here's hoping. Just wake up at 4 a.m. and run until I've written new jokes. Yeah. Every day I wake up. I mean, Michelle Wolf, I think, is someone who wakes up every day, runs an ultra marathon, writes a new hour of material. And then you think she's happy? I don't know. I haven't seen her around a bit. Well, thanks for doing the podcast. Thanks for having me. Check out Claire Parker's Celebrity Book Memoir Club. Doesn't matter. She's a stand-up comedian. Doesn't matter. You can see her in Edinburgh. Barely. 12 shows. They're all sold out. Yeah, don't even try to get a ticket. Yeah, don't even try to get a ticket. You can't. So I've had people say that to me about shows. They'll be like, "Oh, I didn't even try to get a ticket. I thought it'd be sold out." And I was like, "Nope." No. Really wish you had tried to get a ticket. Yeah. You can still get one right now, actually. And they're like, "Oh, well, I already have to." Bring your friends. Send me, Venmo me what the ticket was. Yeah. Yeah. Sad. Anyhow, I think this was uplifting. Someone just DM me and say, "I bought a ticket for the wrong night. Is there anything I can do? Like, I'm worried." And I was like, "Don't you worry." Yeah, we got you. I said, "Just give me your name. I'll put you on the list. You could be one of the." We'll sneak in. We'll call it even. All right. Well, bye, guys. Thanks for doing it. Puddles, puddles, puddles. Everybody now puddles. Everybody get up because you get down and then everyone will come over here.